Hello, people of the internet. This is Kaiji Noir, and here with me again is Pete.
Hello.
And we are back once again from our little hiatus to bring you our review for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, what was it? What was the last movie we reviewed together?
I don't know, but technically, we did see another movie before this.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we were unable, due to our schedules, we were unable to review that movie. But I guess we'll cover it, at the end of the year when we discuss hopefully our top 5 best and worst of 2013, as well as, any movies we saw outside of theaters that came out this year. So anyways, this is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, the sequel to the 2009 film, which was based on the book of the same name, despite having very little to do with said book, outside of it the concept of food falling from the sky. So before the movie begins, we are given a brief flashback of the previous events that happened in the last movie, as well as get some new info on our protagonist Flint's backstory, where we learn that as a kid, Flint idolized this one character named Chester V, who has a very strange resemblance to Steve Jobs, the former president of Apple. We cut to the very end of the first movie, where Flint and his friends meet Chester V, who offers the chance for them to leave their home, their food-infested island, while he and his scientists study the island. We cut to several months later, where Chester offers Flint the opportunity for him to investigate the island and find the machine that has for some reason started creating sentient food-based life forms. So now Flint and his friends team up together to head back to their home island in order for them to locate the machine from the first movie. So, Pete, have you seen the first Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
I haven't, but I know you have, which makes this kind of a good opportunity because we get 2 views. Your view as someone who saw the first movie and the sequel, and me just as the sequel moviegoer.
Mm-hmm. Well, when it came to the first movie, I was pleasantly surprised with how well it was pulled off. I mean, it didn't really seem like your typical everyday animated film. I especially love the relationship between Flint and his dad. I felt like it was their relationship felt very natural, and I really liked a lot of the side characters and the voice actors. I thought were very well. But the one thing I really loved the most was the animation, for not only for both the first movie, but for this one as well. It has the characters have this very rubber band physics, that's like kind of similar to Darren Aronofsky's what was it? Hotel Transylvania, but to a much more extreme level. And I kind of like this animation style because it's something that's different from the norm. Whereas like a Pixar or a DreamWorks film, they tend to have very solid style of animation, if that makes any sort of sense.
No, I see what you're getting at. I agree with you on that. I do like the animation. I feel like because of it, it gives it more of like a quirky feel, and they got to do more quirky things with the characters and their faces and how they interact with each other.
Mm-hmm. Especially their arms.
Oh yeah, well their arms and their the facial reactions is a big one. There's just so many like different reactions that the characters give with each other, and especially Chester V with all his like yoga arm movements and everything.
Yeah, it's almost like you're hypnotized by his movements. So when it comes to like the basic story, what were your thoughts on it?
2 things, and we discussed this before. Jurassic Park, Apple, Dunzo.
Yeah, this movie is very borrows several huge elements from our Jurassic Park, and me being like with Jurassic Park being my favorite movie of all time, I was able to spot visual references to Jurassic Park, and even even Flint's girlfriend, Sam, she is dressed up like Ellie from Jurassic Park. She's got like the shorts, she got the pink bun shirt, and even the ponytail. The hairstyle.
Yeah, that and a lot of like the buildings and what of Chester's Corporation and all that. Again, it just had that strong resemblance of that little company known as Apple. And I mean, every time you saw him, you always saw, like you said, Steve Jobs. And again, a lot of his tech again reminded me again Apple in general.
Yeah. So I guess I guess we can move away from the story and just talk about like the visuals, I guess.
Okay. I really like what they did with the animals and the characters and the character creations. Some of them were funny, some of them were quirky, some of them, it was fun seeing like the different animals. But the weird thing is, every time they saw a new animal, they'd always name it. Hey, look, there's that, there's that, there's that, there's that. There's not a moment in time where they're just gays. They always had to announce what animal it was, and that led to the overabundance of puns in this movie.
The puns, dear God, the puns. Yeah, I mean, normally I'm when it comes to puns, I'm normally not as bothered by them as most people are, but this movie seriously pushed my limits on puns.
And it's funny, like, going into it, I'm like, okay, a pun here and there, that's not too bad. As long as they don't overdo it, I'm sure we can. Oh my God!
It's a shrimpanzee. It's a crocodile. Watermelon. Flamingos.
Oh my! What was it?
There's
chimpanzees.
There's a leak in my boat.
Oh my God!
And like, it seemed like every single joke in this movie was based on puns.
Yeah, like I said, every time they saw a new creature, pun, 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 pun.
But even then, like when the characters were making regular jokes, or like they're making an observation, it's a pun.
God.
And the thing was with the original Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, they did not rely on puns. They relied on like a solid storytelling, and a lot of the humor came from the characters' actions. You get some of that here, but it's been that sort of humor has been drastically reduced in favor of puns. Another thing I like that was carried over, were the visual gags. I know that, again, I guess that goes back to the animation, where a lot of the most funniest things that from the first movie were things that happened in the background, such as this one, like one of Flint's old inventions was a TV with legs. It would just show up out of nowhere, just in the background. It does, like, they kind of do the same gag here, but I didn't think it would work as well. And then in the first movie, there's this one guy with a beard who just like pops in out of nowhere, just, like, with a line here or there. He's shown, you see him like twice like 2 or 3 times in the beginning of the movie, but then again, they drop that in favor of puns.
Somehow I really wonder if he shows up again somehow, somewhere throughout the movie, and somehow we just managed to miss him. I really wonder, and I kind of want to look back on it just to look for him.
Yeah, it's pretty. Would it be funny if like that guy who like has probably like 1 or 2 lines was like voiced by a really well-known guy?
Oh my God! What if it turned out he was the actual villain of the whole thing?
Like he was the mastermind behind it?
He was the mastermind behind the whole thing. He was controlling Steve Jobs, and he was behind it all.
My God.
That sounds like the most amazing movie I've ever heard.
Actually, I don't know.
Anyways, all right, back to this whole story. Since I didn't watch the first movie, I'm kind of curious, since you watched it, what was the character arc of
Flint?
Of Flint, yeah, in the first movie.
Well, basically, his main goal in the first movie was he wanted his father's approval. That to him, that was the most important thing, because in the movie they established that his mother always strongly supported his love for science, but when she passed away before the events of the film, he had a very strained relationship with his father, and so he wanted to prove himself to the world as well, but mostly his dad, that he could change the world for the better using his inventions. And at the end, and that's what happened at the end of the movie, where he made a mistake, he was able to fix it, he made new friends in the process, and finally, he and his father grew closer together.
Out of curiosity, was Chester V ever mentioned in the original movie?
No, not at all. I mean, it kind of feels a bit like sequelitis in this case because they created this character Chester V for specifically for the sequel. Although they're kind of doing the same thing again, where once again he is trying to find the approval for someone for someone else. Oh, however, at this in this case, that someone that he wants the approval for has secret ulterior motives that are so obviously hinted at the beginning of the movie.
Well, do you think it's spoilers if we mention anything about the character himself?
No, not really. Other than he's a very eccentric Steve Jobs lookalike with very wacky animation, wacky animated movements.
Okay. Do you mind if I mention that he's the villain or anything like that?
No, I don't think so. Really, I mean, like I said, they obviously establish him with within the first 20 minutes of the film.
I would just say because I was gonna say something else. Okay, because one thing that I noticed, and this I've seen this in a couple movies too. You always have that mentor, and usually this mentor, you just get that feeling that he's gonna come around, turn around, and it happened in Up. Where else did it happen? When I was watching the movie, I was thinking about like mentors or previous people that had met in their lives that they wanted to grow up to be just like them, and then when they finally met them, they were the opposite of exactly what they thought they were.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too when I was watching the film. It's the whole mentor got turned evil sort of angle has been done before in several films and kind of made this overall story a lot less original than the original film. And I was kind of disappointed about that. I was able to predict these similar beats as the story went along.
And one short question: what did you think about like the opening flashback? Do you think like it did the original movie justice? Because like as for a newcomer, I kind of liked it. I did get the basic gist of what the first movie was. However, I didn't get at all that a big main focus of the first movie was him getting the approval of his dad. I didn't see, and I appreciate them putting in that flashback, and it did explain some things, but not everything as a newcomer to the movie.
The flashbacks to the first movie did not brought up the subplot involving Flynn and his dad. I agree with you there. That should have been brought up, and the whole added bit about Chester V being an idol of his didn't really make sense because in the first movie he had several posters with several icons that he looked up to, like like Albert Einstein, Tesla, Edison, like the very like real life famous scientists. So it to me, of someone who has watched the first movie, like, this whole added character who was shoved in really stuck out to me, but not in a somewhat of a negative way.
That's actually very interesting. What did you think of Flint's actions in this movie and how blindly he follows Chester V in this movie, or in general? What did you think of the characters?
The characters, I felt like a lot of them were played up for laughs, for the most part. Like a lot of, pretty much all his friends were just there to for the sake of setting up jokes
Over the top.
Yeah, over the top jokes. Whereas the other, in the last movie, they felt like characters with actual character arcs. Mostly, that one who was a bully in the first movie, but then turns around and becomes a friend of Flynn's. They were funny for the most part. But again, it felt like more of a downgrade here because a lot of the time it's focused on Flint and Chester. But even then, what happens, the actions that Flint takes have been things that I've seen in other previous movies. Again, like I mentioned, the whole story, I was predicting like the beats. Okay, here's the point where he has to choose between his mentor or his friends. Here's the part where he regrets the decision. Here's the part where he's at his lowest. Here's the part where he makes up for everything.
I feel the same way in that sense. Like, you could just feel the pace of the movie. Like you said, here's this point A, point B. Just exactly going exactly where the movie. You know what's going to happen. And for that, it's not a crime or a sin, but like you said, the first movie was pretty original. It was a pretty new concept, right?
Right, and it was a very creative movie. Well, this movie is also very creative as well. Although I'm not sure. I guess the whole puns things kind of ruins that creativity for me to a point.
I think by the creativity, do you feel like it's more like in the art style and that creatures that are involved in this movie?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say that the whole island of food creatures definitely it was a very beautiful looking world, and obviously a lot of imagination went into this setting.
What'd you think of Barry?
Oh, the living strawberry creature. I thought he was cute. I loved his move. I love his little speech. I like his little move. His like again going back to the animation. I love his little movement. His movements and actions. His speech. I thought he was an adorable little character.
He was cute, but like near the end, God, things just got so over the top. And I'm not a big fan of over the top action or over the top comedy. So near the end, it just got so goofy. It was so over the top. It was hard to enjoy some of the action going on. It was funny at times, but sometimes it just got way too over the top for me.
You know what that over the top climax reminded me of?
What?
It reminded me of the Shrek movies, where you have Shrek and he has all his characters joined together for some big epic battle, and then there's this over the top fight where everyone is beating up everyone else, and you have some like pop song in the background, which happens in this case. Like you have that.
Oh, it does.
that one song when that one character does that one thing.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'm not too crazy on the later Shrek movies either. I'll tell you that. But it's also been I don't see didn't think about it like that actually. I didn't think about those movies, and it's been a while since I've seen those movies themselves. So maybe at that point I didn't see how just over the top they were. But with this, while it was fun, some parts just woo.
Now, one thing I do want to bring up with the characters that there was this one. There was this one guy named Earl. He was a police cop. So apparently the only police cop I've ever seen with bicycle shorts, who in the first movie was played by Mr. T, and he was awesome. But for this movie, Mr. T apparently couldn't reprise his role, and so he was the character was recasted by Terry Crews. And Terry Crews, I'm a big fan of that guy, and I liked him in this movie. Although I just have to wonder, what was Mr. T doing that he couldn't reprise his role? Seriously, what's the guy doing nowadays?
Okay, now that you're talking about Terry Crews, I swear there was moments in that movie where I felt like it was a freaking Old Spice commercial. I'm not joking. There was just random events that he would do. I'm like, Terry Crews.
Terry.
Yeah, and again, they're over the top, but I liked the parts of this character. As dumb as they could get, he was kind of an enjoyable character. But like you said, he was just set up for the jokes. The part where this kid was weird.
Well, which kid?
His son.
Oh yeah, well his son is only there for maybe one major scene and that's it.
Yeah. But I definitely enjoyed Terry Crews. But I'm not gonna lie, at points it was actually kind of hard to tell that it was Terry Crews. He didn't have that usual angry yelling voice that he normally does.
Yeah, although I would probably have to say that that's because they really did not do anything that much with his character in terms of the story. I mean, he was just along for the ride, and to set up for jokes.
Same goes for the bully. Mm-hmm. And who else did we have as supporting characters?
I forgot his name, but he was the Latino cameraman.
Oh yeah, him too. I mean, I guess the funny thing about him is there'd be a serious situation and he would make a little joke or a little pun, or he'd say something serious.
Or when there is something wacky going on, he'd be very silent.
Or he'd say something super calm. Yeah. And then I'm trying to think. I think there was another supporting character.
Oh, the father, Flint's dad.
I like Flint's dad.
Yeah.
I
I really like him. He's a very really down to earth kind of character.
And when his eyes pop out, that's again, that's part of the animation, and it's fun. It's funny. It's just seeing it like, whoop. And I liked his interaction with the pickles because they were. I don't know why I actually like the pickles because in real life I hate pickles and they taste terrible, nasty, and disgusting. But they were funny.
Yeah. I like the whole subplot where he's like left to his own devices. He befriends these pickles and teaches them how to fish for sardines because apparently the pickles like sardines. If I don't know where they come where the writers came up with that.
I don't know. Oh, I also have to ask because actually this would be spoiler, so I can't really mention it. But I really wonder what most of these animals eat or what these creatures eat because they seem to be. I can't say.
I think they eat each other.
See,
They just eat each. Yeah.
but in the climax and after you learn the twist, does it really seem like they eat each? At what moment in time do they stop and just like, okay, I'm not gonna eat you because we gotta help each other? But I don't know. I don't want to say too much about it.
But then again, like for anyone who lives on that island, what do they eat?
That's a good question.
I mean, is there any regular food on this island of sentient foods? Do the sentient foods eat the non-sentient food?
And actually, I guess that brings up another question because the movie ends without any, like real explanation as to what's gonna happen to the island. It's just like, it's over, it's over, it's over. So you really gotta wonder what's the future of that island.
And then you gotta wonder, do these foods, do they die? Do they eventually expire?
Do they rot?
Yeah, do their body, if they die, do their bodies rot?
Oh man, that's making me sad because all of the things were cute.
Yeah. The marshmallows.
The marshmallows. Yeah. Oh god, this movie.
So you ready for final ratings? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I think I am. I'll let you go first this time.
Okay. As a fan of the first movie, I thought this was a decent follow-up. I feel like I was kind of disappointed by the direction that they went with the story. It's something that I've seen in a lot of other movies, so there's that predictability that kind of that lowered the experience for me. I did enjoy the animation, the characters for what little they were given, and I really like this whole Jurassic Park with foods concept that they came up with. I just really wish they would have explored it as opposed to using this cookie cutter.
Outline.
Yeah, plot with the whole mentors going bad sort of thing. So overall, I'll give it a 3 out of 5.
For me, I honestly agree with most of what you said. I do think that the overabundance of puns does bring down the value.
Yeah, that brought it down for me as well.
It's a fun movie. It's a fun ride. I think kids would enjoy it. I had a fun time. I don't
So
think.
you're saying that you're a kid?
Of course, we all have kids inside of us.
That's true.
But I personally don't think this is a movie I'd go. I'd get out of my way to buy. I am interested in watching the first one though. After watching this one,
I'd recommend the first one.
it does interest me, and I want to watch the first one not because of this one. But again, I personally wouldn't go out of my way to watch them or to get them. So for this movie, I'd probably give it like a 2.75 because admittedly it was a fun ride, and I think like I said, I think kids would enjoy it. It was a fun ride. There's just a lot of creatures and different things that you could see and enjoy, and for a kids movie, it was pretty good.
So that's our review for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, and we hope you've enjoyed it. I'm Kaiji Noir,
And I'm Pete,
and until next time, everybody, take care.
and we'll see you at the movies.